whenever you, as a person or as a member of the public, you try to stop the abductions when it is happening, you are likely to be arrested and charged with obstructing a police officer from carrying out his duty. That is the irony about it. If you allow it to happen, then these people normally disappear, and later on will not be told that he was arrested by a police officer. We'll actually be told those were rogues, or there was a deal gone sour between the person abducted and some other people who are unknown and the state does not know.
And it is exactly 10 minutes past 12 noon, and I am with Advocate Gad Aguko in studio. Please remember we are tuning in at hackeyfm.or.ke, and you can send in your questions, comments at hackeyfm1 on X, Instagram and Facebook, and we are also live on TikTok. So Wakili, welcome back. We're talking about abductions and missing persons, and one of the fundamental questions is that these people are masked. These people who come to abduct, they are masked. They use numbers, they use cars whose number plates have been covered or are not there at all, or they use false number plates. So how can victims, families and civil institutions, how can they institute proceedings against these state officers? Because we are saying that government does not admit, but we know it is the state that is orchestrating these abductions. So how can these people institute civil proceedings against them?
You see, what happens very frequently is these abductions, at some point people normally try to prevent them. Like there's a time I saw I think in 2024 around Rongai, when they were attempting to abduct some gentleman from a car, and then the members of the crowd refused. Interestingly, whenever you, as a person or as a member of the public, you try to stop the abductions when it is happening, you are likely to be arrested and charged with obstructing a police officer from carrying out his duty. That is the irony about it. If you allow it to happen, then these people normally disappear, and later on will not be told that he was arrested by a police officer. We'll actually be told those were rogues, or there was a deal gone sour between the person abducted and some other people who are unknown and the state does not know. But if, as a member of public, you see somebody being abducted and you try to stop the abduction, you are likely to also get arrested and told, now you've obstructed a police officer who was trying to arrest. It is only at that stage when they normally produce the identifications. So when these people do whatever they do, it is always planned as an illegal or as a criminal activity whose result is not supposed to be known. So remember, when we began, we said the rights and the responsibilities of the government, the rights of the people and the responsibilities of the government. Whether they admit that they are the ones who arrested you or abducted you. You know, the abduction should not even be there in the first place. So let's just use the word arrest. Abduction is criminal, totally. Whether they admit or deny that they're the ones who arrested the person, it is their responsibility to produce the person. Because as the government, I pay my taxes so that there are police officers across the country. They're supposed to take care of law, to maintain law and order everywhere. So even when I'm in a matatu, I should be safe there. When I'm on the road walking, I should be safe. When I'm in the market, I should be safe. When I'm within the estate, I should be safe. Even inside my house, I should be safe. So wherever you are abducted, it means that the police or the government has not performed its duty, which is to protect you at whichever place you are. You remember recently, the CS for Interior said that the government knows wherever you are and whoever you are with. So the moment he says this, it should also know, now that it already knows where I am and whoever I am with, it should know now who has taken me from here and where he has taken me. And that is why the law now comes and says something and brings a principle called habeas corpus. Because the government, you are the property of the government in the first place. The government is not your property. You are the property of the government. So if you are the property of the government must know where you are and in whichever state. So if somebody carries you out of your house or out of your cars or just from the street, it is the government to know where that person has taken you. It should be able to trace you with or without your phone. It is its responsibility, and that is why you pay taxes. Then that is why you can be able to apply for habeas corpus, and the government is compelled to bring you. So the only unfortunate bit is the kind of jokes we have, or the kind of jokers who are holding public office in Kenya. We've seen somebody like Mwenda Mbijiwe. From all sources, this is somebody who had a lot of security and intelligence knowledge. He was not an ordinary person like me and you, who will just walk from here to another place and just keep to your safety as a person. He knew how to keep the safety of the nation, and you are told that this person disappeared. Then the family and the various human rights activists filed an application for habeas corpus. The case has run, I think, for 4 years or more, because it began before the elections. The case has gone for about 4 or 5 years, and the government is saying he does not know where he is. So, while in court papers, the Attorney General says, we do not know where Mwenda Mbijiwe went to. But in a press conference, the CS is saying, we know where every person is and who they are with. So you realize that we have a government which is not honest with its people. They say whatever is convenient to them depending on circumstances of the time. So that is what we have as a problem. But in working states, whether somebody disappears and he was eaten, let's say, by a hyena somewhere in Voi, the government should be able to produce that person. And this is what happened during the Uhuru Kenyatta time, because people had just come from the inauguration of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, and there was a very serious fight at trying to implement it. So the Bill of Rights was seriously being protected to an extent that the government will try as much as possible. That is in the first term of President Uhuru Kenyatta. The government will try as much as possible that whoever got lost or disappeared or a forced disappearance, he would actually be brought back at some point. They will disappear with him, but he will be brought up. And this is why the government was able to realize why Moses Yebei, who was a witness at ICC, was. They were able to discover the remains of his body in the Tsavo forest. So the government is actually capable of doing all this. But you will always realize the hand of the government in every atrocity which happens. Because how would we realize that this person was eaten by a hyena and is in Voi forest, he is in somewhere in Voi around Tsavo forest, when this person was last seen in Eldoret? And then whatever is found, you could not identify the face, it was the skull. So you just realize that normally when these disappearances occur, the government always has an hand. So it is the government's responsibility to ensure that whoever disappears is brought. And the only way you can enforce it is to file habeas corpus applications. I remember there's a case where we filed habeas corpus application, and that was in 2024. And the Inspector General was ordered to bring the person, and he was not able to bring the person. By then, it was acting Inspector General Masengeli, I remember clearly, because the other one had just been removed, or he had just resigned mysteriously. Then Masengeli was the deputy, was in an acting capacity. So we applied before the High Court that this person be brought, whether dead or alive. If it is his body, let it be brought. If it is the skull, like Moses Yebei, let it be brought. And then it was never brought. And Masengeli, later on we applied for contempt of court so that Masengeli can be jailed, because he even refused to come to court. And when we applied for him to be brought to court so that he's sentenced, because he was first found guilty of contempt. So when he was supposed to be sentenced, the person was allegedly released somewhere in Ruai. So that is how these things go. We realize that we have a very rogue system which does whatever they can and every other thing to circumnavigate the law. They will take somebody, hide him for whichever period, and when now they are pressed that they now have to take personal responsibility for their misdeeds or failure to do something, is when they are doing whatever they were supposed to do, but they do it in a reverse manner, because what the law required is that if at all it was the police who had arrested the gentleman we were looking for, and then Masengeli, who was the acting IG, has been ordered to produce the body or the person, what was supposed to happen is they were supposed to produce him in court. Yes, it is not just release him. The order says bring him. So if at all it is not the government which was holding this person, and then the person reappears in Ruaka, they would have arrested him there because they have a court order to bring him. They would have definitely arrested him there and brought him to court and said, look, you wanted this person. We've been looking for him over this period until you even issued contempt orders, but we have now found him in Ruaka and we have arrested him. But that never happens. What does that serve to do? To justify that they knew where this person is, and when they were now pressed is when they release him. So to answer you in a very brief way, what is supposed to happen when an abduction is happening? Number one, it is dangerous to try to stop these people from abducting. At times, when you look at humanity, you will realize that you may better lose one person than lose a whole generation. That is from my opinion, because these are rogues. You do not know to what extent they may go to harm, because if somebody is coming to abduct, he can kill. So you'd rather let the law take its course instead of trying to act illegally by also trying to stop them, because you'll now be having a whole fight. So you'd rather leave them to arrest. Try as much as possible to collect whichever data you can concerning the arrest and share the information. You've seen this person being bundled into a green Subaru. Share this information as much as possible, and even the way the persons are dressed. If you can capture the video, fine, but do not try to confront them or even fight them. After you've gathered this information, a court file can now be opened for habeas corpus. If the government does not comply, the law is clear that contempt proceedings will now begin, where somebody will actually be convicted of contempt by failing to produce the person. So that is the right channel to follow.